What's up YouTube? Today I'm gonna make a video about Courage the Cowardly Dog, Night of the Weremole review. In the beginning of the episode, Courage and Eustace are sleeping and then the creepy show of the black and white started, and then Muriel is in the back of her garden and no rabbit shows up, and then Muriel he says to the rabbit, "Is it hungry?" and the weremole will reach towards them, and then Muriel was getting the rabbit for the carrot. The carrot for the rabbit, and the rabbit gets eaten by the weremole, and then Muriel turns around and then she saw the rabbit's gone. And then she's wondering what has happened to the rabbit. She reaches down the hole with the carrot, and the weremole bites her hand, and she was wondering what was the cause of the hand biting. Must be a bad carrot. She's old. And then her and Courage and Eustace go to Dr. Vindaloo's office, and her hand is big, and then Dr. Vindaloo says, "There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing at all. Nothing at all." And then Courage worries, and Dr. Vindaloo says, "The swelling is to go down, to go down. Just keep soaking it. There's nothing to worry about. Just keep soaking it." And then Courage points out the hand, and then Muriel hurts Courage by petting him in the head with her big hand, and then Eustace says she should have been bit, and then strangles Courage. It's like from The Simpsons when Homer says, "Why, you little..." And then Muriel sings Dr. Vindaloo, and then Dr. Vindaloo says, "Just keep soaking it." And then they return home, and Courage and Eustace are watching that show again, and then Muriel is soaking her hands, and then she looks at the window, and the full moon causes her to feel sweating. Then she was shaking, then and then she's turning into the monster, and then Eustace shouts, "Muriel, you're missing your favorite show!" And then Muriel, she was not coming, and then Courage and Eustace were wondering what's happening, and Eustace forced Courage to go upstairs, and then when Courage enters the kitchen, he sees Muriel there, and the lights are off, and then Courage is scared that why is she eating his food, and then she turns around, and then she has sharp teeth, and she growled at him, and then Courage screams, and he passed out. He had a heart attack, and then here's an unknown reason. How did the ambulance truck pick him up? Then Courage, he's in Dr. Vindaloo's office again, and then Dr. Vindaloo is wondering what has happened, and then Dr. Vindaloo says, "There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing at all." And then Courage grabs Dr. Vindaloo, and then it cuts back to Muriel sitting there watching the horror show. And then here's the creepiest scenes. Courage takes Dr. Vindaloo to their home, and Courage, he tells the Muriel, and then he mentions the War of the Monster. And then Courage points at Muriel, and then Dr. Vindaloo is wondering what's happening. And Muriel, she's normal. Her hands are normal. Her hair is normal. The teeth is not just normal. He says, "Shh, I'm watching my favorite show." And then Dr. Vindaloo does the dumbest choice. He wants Muriel to open her mouth and say, "Ah." He did open her mouth, and she turned back. And then she turned back into the monster, and then she bites Dr. Vindaloo's head, and then began shaking him, and then the music played Mozart music. That was too funny. They play Mozart and Courage, the Wolfgang one, and then seconds later it cuts back to Courage screaming, and then it cuts back to Muriel and Dr. Vindaloo. She spits him out, and Dr. Vindaloo runs away, and here's a scene that no one talks about. I'm gonna be the second one on YouTube that I'm talking about it, because our other YouTuber, he made a video about that review with Muriel. She had it 5 fingers, which turned this to this. She had it claws, and she had it 3 fingers, and then her hair turned spiky, and and she made scratched their floor and then made a hole, and then she climbs up to there screaming, and then Courage gasps. He gasps, and he's wondering what has happened, and then Muriel pops up and dyed her hair red. And that's a scene that no one talks about. And then Courage screams and then pops up to the bathroom in the bathtub with Eustace. Courage mentions as Muriel the weremonster, and Eustace doesn't believe Courage, and then Eustace pushes Courage down, and then Muriel pops up, and then Eustace screams, and then him and Courage runs away, while she screams, and then it cuts back to Dr. Vindaloo just sitting there on the floor wiping himself, and his last words were, "That is the worst case of chickenpox I have ever seen." And then Muriel pops up and then bites Dr. Vindaloo's head again, and then drags him under the house. And here's a scene that no one talks about. He screams down there that he says, "Oh, please." And that's a scene that no one talks about. And Courage points at the hole, and Eustace just thinks that there's only mouse in the house. What an idiot. And then Eustace, he goes to get his mallet, but Courage says, "It's not a mouse, it's Muriel. Get it right." And then Eustace ignores Courage. This is the best scene. He said, "Where'd I put that mallet?" And then Courage goes to search in the computer, and then the computer tells Courage that Muriel has been bitten by a weremole. The weremole comes out in the full moon and gets a taste from rabbits and people, and if anyone's bitten by one, they become one themselves. And then Courage types out, what can he do? The computer suggests the mallet, and then Courage does not want the approval of the mallet. Courage says he wants the antidote to cure Muriel back to normal. And then the computer asks Courage to get a little hair of the mole that bit Muriel. And Courage goes outside and he wears a rabbit costume, and it cuts back to Eustace in his room finding his mallet, and then he gets it snapped by a mouse trap, and he found his mallet, and then Muriel pops up, and then Eustace tries to wax her with his mallet, but he missed. And then it cuts back to Courage. He was still wearing the rabbit suit, and then he saw the weremole, and then he says, "The things I do for love." And then he gets bit, and then it cuts back to it cuts back to Eustace and Muriel. Muriel pops up, and then Eustace whacks her, but he missed, and then whacks, but he missed, and then it cuts back to Courage again shaken by the weremole, and it cuts back again. It cuts back that he smashed her, and then it cuts back to Courage getting bite, and then he smashed her, and then she pops up in the bed, and then smashed, but she missed, and it cuts back to Courage getting shaken again, and then it cuts back to that he smashed her in the bed, but he missed, and then it cuts back to Courage and the weremole, and the weremole throws Courage out of the suit, and then Courage flies away, and it cuts back to Eustace in his room. It's a mess, and then the weremole was still attacking the rabbit suit, and then Courage screams and then runs away, but however he gets a little hair of the mole. Well, Courage, he's cowardly, and he's also Courage that he's brave. And then Courage runs back into the house, and then Eustace is cornered by Muriel. She was gonna eat Eustace, but however, Courage drops the hair of the mole on her mouth, and then she begins to choke, like, and Eustace gets mad at Courage for one reason. "What'd you do? I almost had it. You ruined everything, ass dog." And Eustace, you're the S1. Courage is a smart one. And then it cuts back to Eustace and Courage walking their downstairs, and they see Muriel in her wheelchair, and everything's a mess there, and Courage and Eustace were wondering if she's okay, and then she turns around, and then she's normal again. She says, "Where have you been? You missed the whole show." And then Courage is happy. He once again jumps, flies up into the air, and lands on Muriel's lap. And then Eustace is wondering, where'd that mouse get to? Then Courage and Muriel is wondering, and then Courage solves, you remember Dr. Vindaloo? Yes, he turns into a weremole after he got bitten by Muriel. He pops up and Courage screams, and then he bites Eustace, and then he drags Eustace under the floor, and then but Eustace managed to slam him with his mallet, and then but when he slams him 6 times, Eustace laughs like and then Dr. Vindaloo eats him, and then Courage screams and says, "Is there a doctor in the house?" And then he howls, and then that's it. The episode ends. Well, I hope you're not mad because this video was long. There's the scenes that I talk about that no one talks about. Some people thought that the Dr. Vindaloo gets bite by Muriel, drags him under the house. It wasn't a deleted scene, but it wasn't showing in the actual show. And then I don't know what happened. How did Courage turn Dr. Vindaloo back to normal? Well, maybe him and Muriel got out of the house, and then, that's it for today. I hope you all liked the video. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.